4 games that 4 of our 5 losses, total of 14 points, 3.5 points a game, and to be in position to win those games numerous times and not take advantage of that. Now, I've never experienced that before, so I guess is a first for everybody, and I hope I don't have to go through that again. But as far as handling it, I think there's a lot of issues. I think done a lot of soul searching in the last 48 hours in relationship to that and how to handle it with our team. There's so much of a psychological element involved in football, but you still have to hold them accountable. Not just them, myself and the staff, accountable for our present situation, and balance that with their mental makeup, the confidence level that they have or don't have at certain times during the ball game. So, in my team meeting today, we'll talk about those elements and hopefully get to the bottom of a few things and try to create an atmosphere where we are accountable for what we haven't done and haven't taken advantage of opportunities that we should have, both as players and coaches, and at the same time get them to have confidence that we can thrive in those situations.
Along those lines, do you think there might be too much job security among the personnel on the field? Maybe a guy like Fuller, for instance. How many drops until maybe you start putting some uncertainty his way?
Well, I don't think any of us feel great job security at this current point. I think the players understand that, and I think that goes with the profession of being football players or coaches. That's part of the element of coaching, and we're all held accountable for what we do or don't do. There's no question about that. So, as far as the players are concerned, as you referenced Jeff, no, I think he understands the situation, and obviously, if you have somebody that's competing with him in practice on a regular basis, and that player is performing at a higher level than Jeff, then you have to go in that direction.
But nobody is, I guess, at this point. You say.
At this point, Jeff Fuller has done some amazing things here. He'll leave here with holding every receiver record that A&M has had. So he does deserve a certain amount of ownership to that, and but at the same time, he has to play each game to the best of his ability. And if that's determined that that's not happening, then those questions have to be asked and answered.
You had mentioned 11. You had mentioned 11 drop passes, I think, in the prior game. Did y'all count the drop passes from this?
We had 7 this week.
7, and
which is uncharacteristic. We have dropped them in practice more so than we have. It's not uncharacteristic to our practices because we have dropped them in practice, but it's uncharacteristic of this group that I've had. This group of receivers for the last 4 years, some of them with Jeff, and it's been uncharacteristic of those players up until just recently. So you have to, I think, with Jeff and with others, you have to ask yourself the question: why? Why are we dropping these passes? Are we pressing too much? Are we trying too hard? Sometimes that is the opposite of what people think, that we're not trying hard enough. Sometimes you're pressing to make a play, and confidence is a huge factor as well in catching balls. Focus is a huge factor. Are you engaged in the situation? Are you hearing noises in your head that you might, that might be sneaking in there telling you to doubt what you're doing? So, and that's on the coach. That's on me to make sure that those noises don't exist and try to drive those demons out. And but they very may well still. It's something that we have to, this week in particular, we got to go back to our fundamentals, and we practice fundamentals every day, but created some more situations in practice where we have more fundamental time of throwing and catching, and making sure that we do that appropriately in the game.
Are you pleased with the job Coach Walters has done?
Yes, Coach Walters is dropping balls is a function I believe, of the individual having to make that catch. But I'm pleased with Coach Walters. He's a very smart, aggressive young coach.
Coach, aside from the drops, it just seems like Jeff just isn't as aggressive and just doesn't seem to have the swagger and the presence that he did last year. Is there anything have you come across that in your year coaching?
He and I have talked about that a couple different times. You know, he starts the season, his first week of preseason practice, he was the old Jeff, and then he had the injury, and that injury lingered for quite some time. And I'm sure in the back of his mind, he's wondering, you know, what if, and how's this going to play out? And so he had that injury that he had to deal with. We got him back on the field, but he still wasn't 100%. Then he has a concussion. Then he has a turf toe. So he's had a bunch of things that have kind of set him back. Should he be able to fight through those? Yeah, he's going to be able to fight through those. As I always say, you know, you evaluate players, their ability. In the NFL, we used to talk about how does this player play hurt, you know, because they're getting paid in the NFL, and they have to play well. Not only do they have to play hurt, they have to play well when they're hurt. And sometimes as a receiver, when part of their body that it can be a part of your body, whether it's your foot or your hamstring, holds you back from doing your job, and that can be a little bit of a problem.
You're just hoping he kind of has a catch maybe like Easy made. Easy had some drops too, but maybe a catch like that will get you out of a slump.
I think so. It's you know, he's not the first receiver, nor will he be the last that gets into a little bit of a rut, and he's fighting to get out of it. He's frustrated. He's very accountable to how he's performing, and you know, he and I've had numerous conversations on where he is and what we need to do, and trying to get him out of that rut. He did, you know, he made a touchdown. You know, he made some nice catches in the game. Obviously, the one that we needed in overtime, we didn't get. He jumped for it and maybe didn't have to. That tells you something that, you know, well, why did he do that? You know, and he was trying to make the catch. It wasn't a lackadaisical effort on his part. He was trying to make that catch and was devastated that he didn't. So he just needs to have some games where we're consistently catching the ball, giving him opportunities as well to make plays, because he is a very good receiver. He has excellent hands. Jeff is someone who's always plucked the ball and been very confident. And it's like anything else in life, when you've had a couple setbacks, you start to maybe doubt a little bit, lose a little bit of your edge, a little bit of your confidence, and that may in fact be what has happened to him to some degree. But he's going to work himself out of it, and this would be a great week for him to do that.
You had kind of called your shot on Cyrus getting into a rhythm, and sure enough he did. Could you just talk about his day and what that means for the rest of the season as well?
Well, I kind of said last week that, you know, as unfortunate as injury is C. Mike, and we need C. Mike because he brings a presence, particularly in short yardage situations as well as in normal downs. Cyrus gets better with carries, and you know, he very much did that in the ball game. Got better with carries, and asked him to take the ball. He'd been a little bit, when he goes in there and he's splitting time, I think he had a propensity to try to make a big play, because he wasn't getting a lot of shots like he got in the game the other day. He had 30 carries the other day, so when he's only getting 10 to 15, I think he's been trying to score touchdowns on every play, so he did a little more dancing around, maybe didn't hit the hole exactly right, saw things he shouldn't have seen, but we asked him to take it north and south, and he did that and did a great job. So he responded to what we put on his plate, and we're proud of how he performed. We should have been able to win the game with his performance.
Mike, in short yardage situations, are there one or two particular issues that keep coming up, or are there a variety of things that have prevented the success?
Well, I would have to answer that, Chip, with a variety of things. There was the 4th and 1, ran a conventional 2-back play that I've run for years, and we missed a block. They pinched inside. We were going outside, but because we whiffed on the end, he swallowed up the fullback, Mike Lamoth, and we had no one out there on the edge. So there's a couple issues there that we have to clean up. We kind of went with a package earlier in the game that worked for us early, but not late. They slanted their front that way, and We didn't get the yardage we needed to get. And on the goal line, when we have a 3rd and 1 on the goal line at the 1, you know, I would expect us to be able to make that. You know, I know they know it's coming, but we should be able to make that. Should be able to get guys knocked off the ball with our offensive line. So, you know, I have to look at that and make sure that what we're asking them to do, we can do.
How much do those issues factor into maybe some decision-making down the stretch to kick as opposed to go for it?
With 6:30 on the clock and make it a 2-possession game, you know, I think if you ask any NFL coach in that situation, I felt like our defense had them pretty much under wraps. And I figured, I mean, they lead the country in time of possession, so they weren't a fast-paced offense. Never anticipating to have 2 plays to take them down the length of the field. I didn't expect that to happen, and it shouldn't have happened. So I figured they would eat up the clock, maybe move the ball on us a little bit, but we were pretty salty against the run game. They had to throw it. I thought we would handle it better than we did.
No, you've had an offensive coordinator here in years when you started out, and then at least in name only, and I know you've said you've bounced things off of Coach Rossley, but is that something maybe you look at in the offseason in terms of perhaps adding an offensive coordinator?
I don't know. When I look at us, I mean, we're 6th in the country in offense. We run the ball and throw the ball. We're one of the top running teams and throwing teams, and one of the few teams that can do both effectively. I feel pretty confident on what we're doing on offense. I look at everything at the end of the season, but I feel like we have a good system. I've had people call me this year, want to come in after the season and study what we do and ask how we do things. So I feel confident in what we're doing and how we're doing it. I just wish we did it better.
As you kind of turn the page and look ahead, what do you see from the Kansas team that's also looking to get them back in the win column?
Well, I think in the last 2 weeks they've really played their best football of the year. They made some transitional moves and played a couple younger guys and on defense. It seems like it's really helped them. They did a great job against Baylor. And the quarterback really got hot there at the end and made some plays. And they ended up losing the ball game, a game that they had, just like we did. Offensively, I think Webb, I've watched him on numerous times this past season. He's a smooth quarterback. He can run it, he can throw it. I really like his skill level. The running back is a good runner. So, you know, every week you have a challenge. I don't think you ever look at anybody's record and say, I think anybody can beat anybody at any time. So we have to play our best ball, and we look forward to getting going today with practice and getting there.
Some of your guys have talked about they've got to fight and they're going to come out swinging and all those kinds of things. Do you see that from this group and from your staff as well? Yeah, I think they feel like, as they should, you know, and but they felt that way last week too. You know, it shouldn't all of a sudden start with 2 games left in the regular season. So I think we've started games very well. I think we've been ready to play. We just haven't finished games the way they need to finish games. So I don't think it's a matter of coming out swinging. I thought we did that against Oklahoma. I thought we did it last week. I thought we did it the week before. That hasn't been an issue. We've started games pretty well for the most part, and we just need to finish the game. So the swinging that you talk about needs to be there at the end as well as the beginning.
Like on your fourth down plays, what's a good workable number for